So a couple of days ago, I went out to see the Formula One movie. This is Joseph Kosinski's new film with Brad Pitt. I wasn't entirely sure what to expect from it. I'm not a Formula One fan whatsoever. In fact, I'm not even a motorsport fan. And I thought it was a fantastic film. I really enjoyed it. One of the best things about it is it's very much like Gran Turismo or Ford v Ferrari from 2019, where I feel like you don't need to enjoy motorsport to actually enjoy the film. It's like you don't really need to enjoy tennis to like the Battle of the Sexes film, for example. And everything just looks so slick and polished and well done. Joseph Kosinski is a fantastic director. If you've seen Top Gun Maverick from 2022, that was one of my favorite films of that year. And that was one of the reasons because everything was so well put together. It was so slickly done. It's the kind of film I would describe as cinematic, just like Formula One. It's the kind of film I would suggest watching it on the big screen. The race sequences actually go on for quite a while, but they never feel tedious and they never drag. And I think the reason for that is while obviously you have a kind of overarching story over the entire film, in each of the races, each race is kind of a story in itself, and it's dealing with things like egotism and the team dynamic, and the kind of sacrifices you have to make to be the best in a sport like this. That's why races like that work, because you see as the race goes on, you see people start to cooperate more with each other, you see antagonism between people, you see kind of shifting allegiances and rivalries as well, because there's a whole thing in this film about the business side of the Formula One race. And it's been well documented how in the past politics does play a big part in, for example, the choice of drivers. So it's interesting to see that playing out. But most of the film is about Brad Pitt, who plays this guy called Sonny Hayes, who's a kind of burned out racing driver who's just kind of going back and forth between races. It's basically like his Cliff Booth character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So he goes to race with this Formula One team owned by Javier Bardem, and he gets paired up with this rookie called Jonathan Pierce. And the rivalry there, if you've seen a lot of films, you'll have seen this a ton of times before. It's the old, grizzled, seasoned veteran going up against the young, brash, arrogant rookie. And I don't ever feel like they made Jonathan too unlikable. He is kind of a dick in places, as you'd imagine, but I think it's kind of balanced out well by, you see his family dynamic, for example, and you see he's got a brother who's pushed him to be this kind of Instagram star. So it's very much covering these kind of modern themes of, you want to make it in the sports world, you want to be a big star, you have to do things for the gram and do things for likes and the clicks, things like that. But overall, it's a film that does feel, like I said earlier, properly cinematic. I would highly recommend going to see this in the cinema. I enjoyed this film very much for the same reason I enjoyed Gran Turismo, because it was a very up close and personal film. It was visceral, it was kinetic, it was extremely well paced, and it gave you characters you actually really cared about. Like with Sonny in this film, I mean, Brad Pitt's, I feel like he's played a lot of characters like this before, and I feel like this is kind of going to be his career in the future, playing these old veterans who are there to, show the kids what they need to do. But it's good that they don't have him making all the right decisions. He's not correct about everything because he's got lots of experience. He does make a lot of mistakes, just like Jonathan makes a lot of mistakes as the rookie, but he makes them for different reasons, so it makes a lot of sense. As I said before, even if you're not a fan of motorsport and not a fan of Formula One, which I'm not myself, I would still recommend going to see this film. It's a cinematic film. It's a very enjoyable film. By the time it ended, about 2.5 hours, I was never bored at any point, and I actually thought I'd watched something pretty special. The story and the characters are nothing really to write home about overall, but I think it's a very, very enjoyable film, and I think anyone who goes to see that, you'll get a ton of entertainment value out of it.